10. William Joppy. The unsung technician, William Joppy was a steady and reliable presence in the middleweight division during the late 1990s. While he lacked the star power of his contemporaries, his technical skills and resilience made him a formidable champion. Joppy's rise began on June 24, 1996, when he claimed the vacant WBA middleweight title by stopping Japan's Shinji Takehara in the 9th round. His reign was defined not by dominance, but by grit and consistency. A key chapter in his career was his trilogy with Julio César Green. After losing his title to Green in August 1997 at Madison Square Garden, Joppy demonstrated his resolve by reclaiming it 5 months later. The rivalry concluded decisively in April 1999, with Joppy securing another unanimous decision victory. 9. Michael Nunn. The flashy southpaw. Michael Nunn was a slick southpaw whose blinding speed and technical brilliance made him a standout in the middleweight division. Before Roy Jones Jr.'s athletic revolution, Nunn set the stage with a style that combined precision and flair. His reign began in 1988 with a dominant victory over Frank Tate to claim the IBF title, but his impact extended into the early 1990s. Nunn demonstrated his mastery by outclassing Marlon Starling in April 1990 and showcasing his finishing ability against Donald Curry 6 months later, stopping him in the 10th round. However, his most memorable moment came in defeat. On May 10, 1991, Nunn faced James Toney in what seemed like another routine defense. Leading on all scorecards entering the 11th round, he was stunned by Toney's perfect left hook, ending his reign. Though Nunn found success at super middleweight later, his early 1990s contributions cemented his legacy as one of the era's most gifted middleweights. 8. Reggie Johnson, the southpaw stylist. Reggie Johnson was a defensive wizard whose elusive style made him one of the most challenging fighters to face in the early 1990s. Known for his technical mastery and exceptional ring generalship, Johnson's ability to avoid clean punches often left opponents frustrated. While not the most exciting fighter, his finesse and skill earned him recognition as a top contender. Johnson's breakthrough came in June 1991 when he narrowly lost to IBF champion James Toney in a split decision, proving he could compete with the division's elite. Less than a year later, on May 22, 1992, Johnson claimed the vacant WBA middleweight title by defeating Steve Collins via majority decision. His reign included a notable defense against Lamar Parks, where Johnson showcased his counterpunching and defensive prowess. Though his middleweight tenure was brief before moving up to light heavyweight, Johnson's southpaw stance and technical brilliance solidified his legacy as one of the era's most skilled practitioners. 7. Julian Jackson, the one-punch wonder. Julian Jackson was a knockout artist whose devastating power made him one of the most feared middleweights in boxing history. Known for his ability to end fights with a single punch, Jackson's right hand carried unmatched destructive force. On November 24, 1990, he claimed the vacant WBC middleweight title in dramatic fashion, knocking out Harold Graham in the 4th round, despite being thoroughly outboxed for 3 rounds. The perfectly timed right hand left Graham unconscious and cemented Jackson's reputation as a lethal finisher. Jackson's title reign was a showcase of his power. He stopped Dennis Milton and Ismael Negron in the 1st round and defeated Thomas Tate in the 6th, reinforcing his status as the division's most dangerous puncher. His reign ended in 1993 when Gerald McClellan stopped him, but Jackson later regained a version of the title. While his technical limitations kept him from elite status, his supernatural punching power ensured his legacy as a memorable champion. 6. Bernard Hopkins, the ageless wonder. Late 90s edition. Bernard Hopkins laid the foundation for his legendary middleweight career in the late 1990s, showcasing the technical brilliance and grit that would define him for decades. Though his iconic victory over Felix Trinidad came in 2001, Hopkins's performances during this period deserve recognition. His hard-fought win over Antoine Eccles in 1997 displayed his resilience, while his dominant showing against William Joppy in 1999 highlighted his evolution into a complete fighter, combining defensive mastery with calculated aggression. What set Hopkins apart was his ability to use the 1990s as a launching pad for greater achievements. While others peaked during this era, Hopkins refined his craft, developing the boxing IQ and physical discipline that enabled him to dominate into his 40s. His late 90s fights offered glimpses of the all-time great he would become. Ranked 6th, Hopkins' accomplishments during this decade laid the groundwork for his future dominance, cementing his place among boxing's elite. 5. Chris Eubank, the eccentric enigma. Chris Eubank was more than a fighter. He was a showman who brought unmatched flair to boxing with his monocle, jodhpurs, and theatrical entrances. Beneath his flamboyant persona, however, lay a fighter of exceptional skill and devastating counterpunching ability. Eubank's defining middleweight moment came on November 18, 1990, when he defeated bitter rival Nigel Benn for the WBO title. Surviving an early knockdown, Eubank systematically broke down the Dark Destroyer to secure a 9th-round TKO, catapulting him to stardom and establishing him as a legitimate force in the division. His reign included controversial moments such as a technical decision win over Dan Sherry and a 6th-round TKO of Gary Stretch. However, his September 1991 rematch with Michael Watson was tragically unforgettable, ending with Watson suffering career-ending injuries after being stopped in the 12th round. Eubank's brief but impactful middleweight reign combined skill and showmanship, making him one of the era's most compelling figures. 4. Gerald McClellan, the G-Man's reign of terror. Gerald McClellan was a fearsome puncher whose combination of blinding speed and one-punch knockout power made him one of the most dangerous middleweights of the early 1990s. Known as the G-Man, McClellan announced his arrival on May 8, 1993, by dethroning Julian Jackson to claim the WBC middleweight title. In a battle of knockout artists, McClellan stopped Jackson in 5 rounds, proving his ability to dominate even the most feared opponents. Their September 1994 rematch lasted just 1 round, further cementing McClellan's reputation as the division's premier power puncher. McClellan's reign featured devastating performances, including a first-round destruction of former champion John Mugabe. His fighting style combined controlled aggression and precision, stalking opponents before unleashing explosive combinations. Tragically, his career ended in February 1995 after suffering severe brain injuries in a brutal super middleweight bout against Nigel Benn. This heartbreaking tragedy cut short what could have been an all-time great middleweight legacy. 3. Mike McCallum, the Body Snatcher. Mike McCallum, known as the Body Snatcher, was a master of attrition whose relentless body punching systematically broke down opponents. While many fighters aimed for headshots, McCallum perfected the art of targeting the body, combining this with exceptional defense to dominate his rivals. Though his prime years were in the light middleweight division during the 1980s, McCallum's work at middleweight in the early 1990s showcased his veteran savvy and technical brilliance. His July 1990 victory over Michael Watson, where he stopped the talented Brit in the 11th round, proved McCallum's ability to dismantle elite opponents even in his 30s. His November 1991 split decision draw against James Toney displayed his mastery as he battled the undefeated champion to a standstill in a boxing clinic. Wins over Steve Collins and Sumbu Kalambi further cemented his status as an elite technician. 2. Roy Jones Jr., the supernatural talent. Before becoming a multi-weight legend, Roy Jones Jr. dazzled as a middleweight with athletic gifts that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Though his time at 160 pounds was brief, Jones displayed extraordinary talent that left boxing observers in awe. On May 22, 1993, he claimed the vacant WBC middleweight title with a unanimous decision over future Hall of Famer Bernard Hopkins. While the scorecards read 116 to 112, they failed to reflect how Jones's speed and reflexes thoroughly neutralized Hopkins, a victory made even more remarkable by Hopkins' later dominance of the division. 1. James Toney, lights out, dominance. James Toney stands as the premier middleweight of the 1990s, defined by his old-school mastery of boxing fundamentals, unparalleled ring IQ, and toughness. Unlike flashy athletes or knockout artists, Toney relied on exceptional defense and adaptability to dominate the division. His rise began with a dramatic comeback on May 10, 1991, when he stopped Michael Nunn in the 11th round to claim the IBF title, delivering a perfect left hook despite trailing on all scorecards. Toney's reign included impressive victories over Reggie Johnson and 2 classic bouts with Mike McCallum, a draw followed by a unanimous decision win. From 1991 to 1994, Toney's technically brilliant reign at 160 pounds solidified him as one of the decade's greatest fighters. Which among the list was your favorite champ? Drop down in the comments. If you would like to watch more boxing videos, consider subscribing.